Welcome to SUSD Spotlight, your go-to source for all things happening within the district. Whether it's celebrating student and staff achievements, delving into trending education topics, or highlighting inspiring human interest stories, we've got you covered. Join us as we illuminate the incredible endeavors taking place in our schools and forge connections within our community. Get ready to be informed, inspired, and engaged as we embark on this journey together, spotlighting the extraordinary in SUSD. Welcome to another edition of SUSD Spotlight, and today we're pleased to have Dennis Robbins, the Executive Director of the Charros, joining us. Welcome, Dennis.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, I don't know how many of our listeners are familiar with the Charros, although many probably are, and I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about who the Charros are and your role as Executive Director.
Sure. So it really goes back into the 1950s when Scottsdale was trying to figure out how to promote itself as a tourist town. And so there was a group of people that got together and they formed the Scottsdale Baseball Club to try and get spring training baseball here. And so there's a really funny story where they weren't getting much traction and they were actually the Pink Pony.
Oh.
And the owner of the Baltimore Orioles was in town. He had just finished playing golf and he walked in there and someone from the committee said, "Oh, there's the owner of the Orioles. We should talk to him." And so they did, and they said, "Hey, we're trying to get spring training going here, and if we build you a stadium, will you come?" He goes, "Absolutely." And so that gave them the motivation to go out, and so they started selling seat licenses, and they carved a corner out of a farm, literally, and built a field. I built a stadium for $175,000, and true to his word, the next year he came out, and the Orioles were the first team in Scottsdale. So baseball club was around for about 5 years, and then they ran out of steam, and so they went to the chamber and said, "Hey, we would like help doing baseball." And so they deeded the field to the city. The chamber formed the Charros as a special activities group to run spring training baseball. And so we were just volunteers. It was not a fundraising organization. We were there to sell programs and usher and sell hot dogs and that kind of stuff. So we did that for a number of years. And we've had 5 different major league teams in town, and it wasn't until we got into the 1980s that we started making some money when the Giants came in 82. And in the 80s, we started making some money, and we're like, what are we going to do with this money? And so that's when we actually literally started. Dr. Dick Collins, who was an orthopedic surgeon in town, said we should honor a male and female, boy and girl from high school in Scottsdale. And so that's how it started. We honored some students in Scottsdale. And from there, it just took off. We started actually making money, got pretty good at this, and started plowing that back into the community.
So I'm aware of a lot of different kinds of ways that you support our schools, and you talked about making money. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the signature projects and the longstanding commitment of the Charros to supporting Scottsdale Unified School District.
Yeah, it's really what we love, and we're so embedded in the community that way. And so one of the neat programs we have is called the Charro Liaison Program. We assign a Charro to every school in Scottsdale, at least one, and sometimes 2, arm them with a little bit of money, and we have them get to know the principal and teachers and just say, hey, how can I help and what can I do? And then promote the other things that we do, the scholarship programs and the student of the year and everything that we do, our education banquet at the end of the year. And so we really try and be boots on the ground and not just give money, but actually help and do things on campus when we can.
It's pretty significant.
Well, it's interesting because I'd never heard that complete backstory. And what you just described is a field of dreams story, quite literally.
Right.
If you build it, they will come. And so much of your work, these education initiatives, are really helping dreams be realized with some of our students. I think about the Coronado Promise and the opportunities that are extended to students by way of the Charros.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We try and be a partner, right? So we've been coming to the school district for a number of years and say, how can we help? And they said, well, we have some robotics programs that are doing well, others not so well. And so we started giving money to robotics. And then the district said, well, we should make that a co-curricular program. And so they kind of took that over, and that is doing really well and having a huge impact. Same thing with Chromebooks. I remember the thought was we need one Chromebook for every student. We bought a lot of Chromebooks back in the day, and then the district said, we need to make this a priority, and you did as well. And so much like the Coronado Promise, one of our high schools wasn't doing as well as the others, and we said, well, we need to put some resources and some manpower behind that, and look what's been accomplished, and we just hope that's just the start, really.
So from a fundraising perspective, you talked about baseball and spring training, and I understand that's where the bulk of the money comes in. But what other things do the Charros do to raise money to support your philanthropic efforts?
Yeah, it's really changed a lot the last few years because baseball really was the big moneymaker for us, but we've added a lot of other programs. We became the producer of the Scottsdale Prada del Sol, so we started to make a little bit of money there, and obviously the Western heritage is a big part of who we are and what we do, and so we're really happy to partner up with that. We have a license plate that we got started a couple years ago, and that's been a huge moneymaker for us. We do a big tax credit program, so we act as an umbrella organization and collect money for mostly nonprofits that we give money to as well, but we also collect for the schools as well because there's a lot of people that don't have kids in school, so they don't know where to put the $400, that they can do for those extracurricular activities. And so we raised a decent amount there as well. And then we're really, now with this Coronado Promise, so everything that we've done, we have a golf tournament as well that primarily focuses on education. In fact, we had 10 of the JAG students out at our golf tournament last week, and they were so awesome to be there. They got to sit on horses, and they had a beautiful lunch at a nice golf course, and they helped us sell raffle tickets, and they were just it was on their senior ditch day too, and so they chose that. They chose that instead of...
Not a bad way to spend a senior ditch day.
I know, and so we love that, the integration of the students and the things that we do. So so whatever we always looking for new opportunities to raise funds for the schools and the charities as well.
And since we're having this conversation, if someone was interested in learning more about how to donate to the Charros, where would they go on the internet?
Definitely our website, charros.com. It's not too hard to find us. And actually, we had some very forward-thinking Charros back in the day, and we also own springtraining.com and grapefruitleak.com. And so it's really interesting. The Major League Baseball wasn't happy about that, but they didn't rest.
You were ahead of the curve.
I know.
Well, what I appreciate especially is the opportunities that are extended to students by way of scholarships, of course, but also the way you scholarship some of the students who go on to become our teachers, and the way you're supporting classroom initiatives as well for our teachers that you recognize. Some of those future teachers, though, have come back around. And so how are those stories helping to sort of propel all that you do forward?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I've been a Charro for over 20 years, and back when I was patron or the president of the Charros in 2002, 2003, Paul Ferrero, who's now the principal at Mojave, right?
Yes.
He was a student, and then also Elizabeth Halverson, who I think is a teacher at Arcadia, right? So the two that were there when I was president are still around, and I know. So we've been doing 2 scholarships a year for over 20 years, so that's over 40 students, and I know a lot of them stay in the district. And so that was, even back then, it was harder to find teachers. We were really trying to make sure we grew our own, right? And so we were really happy to support that.
I'm not sure if everyone knows, but you are a legacy here in Scottsdale. Where'd you go to school?
Yeah, Cocopah and Chaparral. Grew up right down the street from Cocopah, walked to school as a kid, rode my bike to school as a kid, and I loved it. It was a great experience. It was really, we were out at the virtual end of Scottsdale back in the day, so at Shane Scottsdale Road.
Right. Yeah. It has truly grown since then.
It has.
There's also a lot of leadership opportunities that are extended to kids. I think about the Baseball Luncheon that happens annually. And again, the way you tie it back in to baseball, and the kids have an opportunity to play with some big leaguers.
Yeah, that's a really fun afternoon that we have. Invite 10 kids from every school, so we get over 300 students, and professional Major League Baseball players come out who have been retired, and you hear there's some big names that are out there, and then it's really interesting. All the players say the teams they've been on, and it's unbelievable how many have been on like 8, 10, 12 teams throughout their career. It's incredible. But and they all get baseballs, they all get a hot dog, and they run them through drills out in the field, and it's a really fun day.
So the Charros support other organizations besides Scottsdale Unified School District. Can you talk a little bit about the other nonprofits and the other kinds of programs that you invest in to support our larger community?
Yeah, I mean we're mostly a funder. We don't have, other than some education programs, we don't really have anything we do ourselves, so we try and raise funds for others that are actually doing good work out in the community, like the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCAs, and even just small little grassroots volunteer organizations like Kids with Cancer. There's one called Wigged Out, where they buy wigs for kids that have, just things like that a $5,000 or $10,000 contribution is just huge for them. And so those are fun to give money to really small organizations that really have no infrastructure other than volunteers. And then a lot of our guys, our members, have ties to nonprofits that they are on the boards of, or they have a family relationship with. So it's nice for them to be able to raise funds through the Charros and have that directed to their nonprofits as well.
Speaking of that, how many members do you have in the Charros?
Yeah, we have about 50 active Charros. You're active for 7 years, and you become a lifer. We have about another 175 lifers. Okay. In the community. So yeah, they stick around for a long time. And someone like Jim Bruner or Gary Shapiro, those types of guys. Herb Drinkwater was a past Charro. And so yeah, we have a lot of legacy people who've done some amazing things in Scottsdale.
They have good stories to tell.
They do.
And a lot of the service extends beyond the Charros. I mean, you were also a city council member.
Right. Yep, we've had our share of those, elected officials as well, and so, or school board members as well, so, or past superintendents too, Dwayne Sheldon, and so it's fun to be that connected to the community for sure.
Well, I know we always look forward to that outstanding educators and students celebration each year, being able to bring folks together and celebrate the good work that's happening. So thank you for all that you do, because it's nice to be able to spotlight that.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I mean, the teachers, it's so much fun going to their classroom and telling them that most of the time they're surprised. And so,
right.
And most of the time there's tears or, joyful tears. And so that's super fun. And then even the high school students that we get to go tell that they're the student of the year is really an inspiration. And then having the families there that night is really great. And there's just not enough done to thank teachers at all.
Well, the banquet is like a red carpet event, and the way you welcome people and makes them truly feel special. And it's special, and it's nice to see the smiles and the deep gratitude that they feel appreciated, recognized, and celebrated in the way that you do that. So it's truly amazing.
Thank you.
One of the things that as a legacy in the district, you've seen a lot of changes over time, but I'm always interested in hearing stories from our graduates about a teacher or a program or an experience you had while you were in Scottsdale Unified School District that you might like to elevate or celebrate, something that you would like to call out, maybe someone who just sticks out as that person who made a difference in your life. Is there anyone you can think of, Dennis?
God, there's so many. I had so many great teachers, really. That is the number one person that makes the biggest influence on your life. But it has to be a coach, really. For me, I was involved in sports, and my JV football coach was Jerry Dawson, of all people, right? The award-winning state champion baseball coach at Chaparral forever. But he was a very difficult football coach as well, and we just had some knockdown, drag-out kind of football practices. The practices were just amazingly entertaining and difficult, and all of us that went through that will never forget it. And we had a lot of great stories just about just a football practice on a crappy field, and he was a hard-nosed guy and taught us a lot of good lessons for sure.
I think that's important. A lot of times in the current environment, people will talk about it's all about academics, but it seems like it's about academics and athletics or the arts or those experiences where you're learning teamwork, resilience, grit, the things you just talked about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had a great, I can't even remember what class it was, but we had a really neat professor, Mr. Perry, teacher Mr. Perry at Chaparral too, where we had a dig. He buried stuff on the ground, and we would go out there, and it was like an archaeological dig, and just those kinds of things. Or shooting rockets out in the desert, in physics class, and like you're talking about, outside the classroom type of experiences are really important for sure.
Well, and I've heard that you have an interest in education even at a higher level, as you're maybe pursuing a doctorate yourself.
Yes. Well, it's kind of an extension of this Coronado Promise program, and we really want to scale that up and bring that to more students, more schools in Scottsdale and beyond if possible. And so I really wanted to see if I could figure out best practices of Promise programs. I mean, it's kind of blown up. There's over 400 of them out there. And so don't necessarily need to recreate the wheel, but you can go out and learn what other people are doing and find the best parts of those and then apply them here. And so that's what we're trying to do, that amongst a capital campaign, because funding of it is a big piece of making it happen.
Well, that's pretty exciting.
It is.
Well, appreciate your partnership and your service, even in moving our strategic plan forward, because you are serving on our strategic action team for community partnership and helping to align others. And so it's nice to have your voice at the table so that we can align these efforts moving forward.
Yeah, that's been a fun process. I like to get to know other people in the district that I didn't know, and just we had that ending meeting here where it all came together, and you see what everybody else was working on as well. So that was a really neat process, and having other community partners for any district or any organization is really important. And so it's nice to see that people can step up, and once you get that more aligned with the community and easier access by the community, because people want to help and they just don't know how. And so I think if you can provide that opportunity, that really is important.
Finding the synergy and where there's shared passions, where you can find the partner that makes the most sense for robotics or makes the most sense, as you say, for the Promise and other things. So it's been a great opportunity for us to commit with you, or connect with you rather, and then the chamber and some others to have the partners around the table, the right players.
We truly appreciate the partnership with the Charros and all the work that you do to support Scottsdale Unified School District and the larger community. We know that schools can't do it alone, and we're grateful for all that you do, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We are so glad that you tuned in to listen to this episode of Spotlight, and we encourage you to take the time to listen to all of our podcasts and subscribe to whatever your favorite podcast channel is.
And of course, you can log on to the SUSD.org website and find us at susd.org/spotlight, where you can pitch us ideas for the podcast episodes moving forward.